That's
Okay,
a
yeah.
concept that
Perfect.
spiritual teachers like me sometimes peddle. So apologies for that if I've had anything to do that. But you're right. That's it. That's the point. Every sort of teaching is a spontaneous expression. At least it is for me. So is one of the advantages of having someone like me is that you can just ask me the question, and it clears it up. You don't need to have no thoughts. Now there are depths of silence, or rather, there's degrees of lack of thought. So total silence, when there are no thoughts, there's no degree of that. There's just that total silence. But when you have a little bit of thought, or a little bit more, or a little bit less, there are degrees of that kind of silence. There's the bit of thought going on in the background. And if they're not bothering you, and they're like ornaments, they're like furniture in the room, it just doesn't bother you. In a Tibetan Buddhist tradition, Dzogchen tradition, they call it ornaments of the true nature, ornaments of the Buddha mind. These thoughts, they're just beautiful decorations. They don't even have to be beautiful, but they're just decorations that are there, and they don't bother us at all. And we don't have to even believe them. They don't have the hypnotic quality of egoic thought. Even if the content is the same, we're able not to really listen. We can tune in, tune out. We're not really swayed by it. These thoughts don't disturb our essential being. Now, if those thoughts go too, then the peace felt is much deeper. But that's not necessary. That's just an experience that comes and goes. You're going to have it. You might be able to obtain deeper states of peace than what you currently have attained, Mary. But that's not important. Yeah. So it might be a month's time from now, tomorrow, or 6 months from now, whenever. You might have an experience of deeper peace. But that doesn't matter. So you can get deeper levels of peace than what you're currently experiencing because your thoughts are there. But it's irrelevant. We don't need to be a slave to peace. We don't need to have to seek those deeper experiences. You see? Now, those deeper states of peace can be useful because they can help purify us. They can help give us, if you're going through a rough patch and you can access those deeper states of peace, it can make you feel better. But, these are all for the me, actually. When you don't worry about these sorts of things, then whatever's happening is whatever's happening. Sometimes the body, mind will feel more peaceful. Sometimes it will feel less peaceful. That's normal. We don't have to force anything onto the body mind. It becomes unnatural. And there's a subtle form of violence to our body. When you get more sensitive to these things, you realize, oh yeah, it doesn't feel right. The body has its own intelligence. It has its own moods, its own seasons, its own sort of vibrational frequencies that chop and change throughout the day, throughout the week, over the months. Sometimes you have higher energy. Sometimes you have lower energy. Sometimes you need to sleep more. Sometimes you need to sleep less. You see? Sometimes you'll be naturally more peaceful. Well, we don't have to worry about any of these things. Because when you start getting into it, into the content, and you start becoming addicted to the content of the thought, this is when peace goes. When you start believing the egoic thoughts, this is when we might need remedies. This is maybe when we need teachings and practices. If the thoughts are mild, you can just ignore them. If they're not mild, then you might need to do something else. You might need to do some chanting. You might need to do some devotional practice. You might need to do some meditation. You might need to listen to some music, do a guided meditation. You see? But these are just temporary remedies, temporary issues, or habitual problems, because we're habitually used to listening to our thoughts and thinking they are ours. And the voice in our head, we think that's our thoughts. But it's not. It's just the manifestation of the society and the environment, and actually the manifestation of the environment that we're in. Just as our bodies are. Just as our bodies are a manifestation of the environment, including the genetic environment. So these aren't even our bodies. These are just a natural manifestation, karmic manifestation, a manifestation of cause and effect. Look at us all here. Look at all our faces. Look how different and similar we look. Look how unique we all are. These are just manifestations of life. There's no ownership here. Just like your thoughts, your feelings, nothing to do with you really. This is all one happening. Just like the body is one happening, but it's got lots of different processes in it, hasn't it? You've got all the different organs doing their own thing, but as a totality, the body is just one happening, one functioning. The heart's doing its thing, the brain's doing its thing, the muscle's doing its thing, the liver's doing its thing. So every cell is doing its own thing. Even within the cells, there are different. The cell itself has organs. They call them organelles. Yeah, you can look it up if you don't believe me. You've got all these different structures within the cell, super complex. The nucleus, all these different reticulums, microtubules, cell wall, the cytoplasm, the liquid inside of the cell. It's all really active stuff. They're all doing their own thing, but it's all one whole cell. And we're one total organism. And this is one total happening. There's no individuality really. Even you go beyond the cell, you go down to the molecular level or the atomic level. The atoms, you've got the nucleus of the atoms, you've got the electrons going around the atoms. You know, planets go around the sun in the solar system. We've got these electrons that are whizzing around the center of the atom, the nucleus of the atom. They're doing their own thing. We're just a collection of these things. And you can go down further. You know, you can even these particles are made up of smaller ones, or the ones in the nucleus are anyway. We haven't managed to divide an electron yet. We think that's a fundamental particle. But I'm veering off a bit onto particle physics now, which we can do if we want as well. But the point is that there's no individuality. It's just a happening. We're all manifestations. Our thoughts are manifestations. Our bodies are manifestations of life, of this. We think then, oh gosh, but when we start thinking we're so special, we're so important, and we are, but we're not. You know, each are unique and important, but not that important as individuals. So the thoughts will come, and the peace is there. We don't have to worry about it. To put it in a different way, there's an innate intelligence that's looking after all of this, that's doing all of this. You can call it the natural intelligence of the body, the natural intelligence of the human body just functioning naturally. It's no different to the natural intelligence in the tree, or the natural intelligence in the bird. They just manifest differently because the structures are different. The tree has different structures to the bird, which has different structures to the human. So they manifest differently. It's like electricity. Electricity passing through a light, and then you've got electricity passing through a laptop. The same electricity manifests differently. It does different things. If it goes through a toaster, it manifests in a different way than if it goes through a light bulb, than if it goes through a laptop, than if it goes through a clock. It's the same electricity, the same force, same power, different manifestations because the structures are different. So it's the same power animating all of us. Seems separate, isn't really. By the way, these are all just conceptual teachings. The teachings have made sense, to remove the ego, to remove the separate sense of separation, we can just let them all go. They're just concepts to help us. And we don't have to believe them necessarily. But you can use them to help you as long as they're helpful.